We
several
need
hours
a
of
Dota
content.
2 campaign. That's what we need. Hello friends, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of the Mystery Machine. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Dota 2, its player count not doing so hot right now. It looks like the player count is at its lowest since 2014, and we essentially want to open up a discussion about how we can resolve this issue, or if it even needs to be resolved. And obviously, Scooby and I are coming from a position of really wanting the game to thrive and succeed. I mean, I don't know about you, Donnie, but I'm playing the shit out of Dota right now, and I'm enjoying it. I know a lot of other people aren't, so obviously, want the game to thrive. This is not a.
Yeah, I don't care. No, I'm just
All
kidding.
right.
I actually am having more fun playing Dota than I have, I think, probably ever. And I think it's just because I'm like really just enjoying the process of learning and kind of have figured out my whole process of learning.
I've really thought about this in the past week because, sometimes it is natural that a game should just be declining. Sometimes, you know, gamers just change, they want something else, and a game is no longer relevant. But I do genuinely believe that there is a lot of fun to still be had in Dota. I don't think that this game should just have a few years left. I truly believe that this game should have a long lifetime ahead of it. So I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not I'm not hoping for like impending doom or anything like that.
yeah. I mean, I think that at its core, Dota has really captured just like a need, like a competitive need, and it does it in such a creative way where you can kind of just play it an infinite amount of times. Like, I mean,
Right.
chess for example, like it's not like chess has been patched. The rules of chess haven't really changed in any significant way that I know of, at least. Um,
My league bans queens. You
right.
can't use
Since
206.
inception, it's always been the same pieces on the same board with the same movement patterns, and yet people are still playing that and like figuring out new ways to do stuff in that game hundreds of years later.
Right. And that actually brings us to some of the more recent issues with Dota for why it's very likely that we're probably going to see a spike in players after the content patch comes out. I know you mentioned patches there, and that is a crucial element to Dota 2, is that we have these patches that keep things interesting and yet competitive, and we haven't seen one of those yet since TI, or we have seen letter patches, but the meta hasn't changed
Yeah.
from after TI, even after all of the letter patches. So I do feel like people are bored with seeing Void and Mirana and Alchemist in every single game. I have
Yes.
friends that play casually, and they might just not like the heroes that are meta. They might be bored of them, and a lot of the underutilized heroes, you can't really play them because they're nowhere near as good. That's a problem.
Yeah, I want to disagree slightly with that, just because I think that um there definitely are heroes that just have simply better numbers and they just fit into how people are playing the game. And there's definitely heroes that have worse numbers and they don't belong in any game and shouldn't be picked, basically, if you want to win. But I also think that there is a lack of creativity in Dota, like across the board, especially when there's no pro tournaments going on where the pros are innovating new stuff to beat the stuff that's meta. Like there are heroes that are good against Mirana. There's heroes that are good against Void. But because pros haven't been showcased playing them as much, other people aren't playing them.
Okay, so I have a question for you then,
Sure.
because when I brought up to you that I wanted to record this video, I don't want to just be one of the YouTubers that just here's the problems with the game. So what is a solution off of the back of that problem? How do we get people to be more creative and give them actual benefit in the game for being more creative with their hero picks? Like, is there some other mode that we could do? Maybe like have random draft be, like maybe 1 week of ranked, you can only play random draft or something like that. Like, do you think something like that would work out?
I do. I honestly don't know why they haven't tried random draft for anywhere other than Perfect World in China, because everything that I've heard from pro players when they talk about it, they love RD. And I
Yeah.
can understand why, because it makes you be creative. You can't just pick Mirana every game because, like, 30% of the time she's not available in the hero pool, and that's
Right.
awesome. Like, you have to
And
figure out other stuff.
and certain heroes become viable based on other heroes not being available.
Right.
So even if Mirana is available, maybe she's not great because the heroes that she's great against aren't even available to pick, so she's not in the meta anymore. That's why I really loved Midas mode. I think that if Midas mode could be like a serious, sort of league or system that people use, you could see a lot of very interesting picks and fun picks get forced. But I just had a thought when you were saying that. Imagine some sort of system where, with like Dota Plus or something like that, there are like daily quests, something like that, or like weekly quests where, okay, play this amount of random draft games, win this amount of random draft games. And I think instead of giving Dota Plus points, I mean, people don't really care about shards too much.
Yeah.
Give like, you can like double your MMR for this win. It's like a double down. You get like double down tokens or something that is based on ranked that also changes the rank, but the benefit gives you like more or less rank.
Yeah,
It's like,
what's wrong with having double down year round? I mean, like, it doesn't seem to be that big of a thing in a battle pass. Why not be able to earn it? Yeah, why not
exactly earn it? Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. Is like you'd actually be earning something that people legitimately care about, because you could rank up faster by playing the more fun mode. I think that'd be very interesting. But I mean, obviously, there's 1,000 different ways you could take it. But definitely something along those lines would be really, really fascinating. But another issue that I see right now is that matchmaking is obviously a problem. So a couple of things that I want to say about this. Anybody who's watched our videos in the past couple of weeks knows that we are both in support of Valve changing and trying to fix matchmaking. However, in retrospect, it does seem like changing matchmaking to this point and experimenting with it in a period that is almost a guaranteed lull, which is after TI, is a bit risky when it comes to like player count, like affecting player count, because people already aren't going to play the game because TI just happened. There's the burnout. There's not much news surrounding Dota 2 that already all happened with TI. And that kind of seems like the perfect time to change matchmaking. But then, in retrospect, you're losing a lot of players due to these two things. And that does like scare a lot of people. What's making the news is the loss of players now.
Right. I do think that it's kind of okay at the same time, just because there is this moment that we know is coming. There's going to be 2 new heroes. There's going to be like a bunch of balance changes. Like, it's in the future and we know it's coming very soon. So it's kind of okay to take this break and like try and figure out this matchmaking stuff so that maybe everything is better when those new heroes come in.
Sure.
And so that the experience that the people who are coming back to the game for the first time in 6 months or something like that is suddenly much better than they remember it. Because, I mean, as much as matchmaking has been difficult for the highest echelons, and
you say that, but I hear people in like Ancient and Divine are getting, and like Legend, like they're also getting these like long queues that are sometimes uneven. Like,
yes, yeah. The queue time definitely is a big issue. Queue time more than anything else. Because I was gonna say match quality has definitely gone up, except for High Divine or High Immortal, but it's definitely gone up for everybody else.
All I think that needs to happen is Valve just needs to continue iterating. They just need to not slow down with it at this point.
Right.
That's all I'm worried about. As long as they're going to keep changing it and keep trying these fixes, I think matchmaking is not going to be an issue.
Yeah, stopping now and like having a big gap between their matchmaking patches would be a pretty huge problem, I think, because there is this whole, like, it happened with Fortnite where they were like, oh cool, the game's deleted, you can't play for 24 hours. But then that 24 hours kind of stretched on to 48, and people were actually kind of like, this is kind of messed up. Like, we've invested, hundreds of our own dollars, and we literally can't play this game. You guys just deleted the game for 2 straight days. And I think they were having like some server issues because they were releasing this whole new map and everything.
Yeah.
And it's very quick in today's day and age to lose attention. And
that actually brings me to the next point, which is the overarching issues with Dota. The issues that aren't just recent, matchmaking, things like that. No advertising.
Yeah.
No marketing at all. Like Fortnite, like League of Legends recently, with all of their new games coming out, where they're making the news. People are going back to the games. You see on Twitch that League of Legends numbers are looking amazing. All of the subsidiary games of League of Legends numbers are looking really great as well. People are interested in playing that because it's in the news. And Dota doesn't really have that other than around TI. That's
Right.
about it. TI is the only tournament people care about. So, what can we do as a community, and what can Valve do to get people more interested, get the esports reporters, writing about Dota as opposed to, Fortnite and League of Legends.
And I do want to say, though, that we are coming up to the 10-year anniversary of this game. And it'll be the 10th TI. And they've talked about new player experience being something they're working on. I wonder if there is going to be some sort of 10-year anniversary celebration where a whole bunch of new stuff comes in. However, will that be too late? Are they going to be able to string people along long enough to get there and then suddenly do a big marketing push for that 10-year? And I don't know.
They don't take a big step in terms of fixing a lot of these things that people have been complaining about for many years now. I think that there will be probably a need for like a Dota 3 or something something big like that before people will be willing to come back. Like a content patch is not going to be enough.
Right.
At a certain point. Just like winning a team fight is not enough when the enemy team is megas,
Yeah, you can't just add 2 heroes to the game and hope that all of the systemic problems are going to be fixed is the main thing.
Precisely.
Like you'll get the spike, but then you'll just bleed those players away if their experience is the exact same as it has been for years, right?
So you actually briefly touched on there 2 other issues that I wanted to talk about, aside from like no advertising in Dota. We have no tutorial system, no real way to get new players into the game. And I mean, there's a few things that you can do. I think that people have had the idea of like, okay, hire Purge, hire Dota Alchemy. There's some ideas to get people in with like with the guides, but I don't know. People don't really want to do research. That kind of feels weird for a game.
You have to play the game to learn it.
There's a more fun way that you can do it, I think. I really think like custom games are really good. Like people playing Overthrow, that's a really good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
But having some sort of system in the game for helping people get into that, but in a fun way, restricted hero mode, that felt weird because it was restricted, and it's like, okay, I'm being taught by just not being able to play all of the heroes, but maybe some sort of benefit for, okay, if you spam this hero 10 games in a row, you get this benefit, or you can unlock this set if you spam this hero 10 times in a row. Like encourage people to learn the game or something along those lines. Obviously, these are just ideas we're throwing out here, and they're probably riddled with issues.
Yeah, man. Actually, I really like that idea just because if it is like a, 10, 15 games, whatever, to unlock some sort of like actual commodity that you get, whether it's a set, like an
untradeable
set,
cool set. I don't know, anything like that.
That kind of stuff is really cool because really the only way to learn Dota and be good at Dota is to learn what the heroes do and what the matchups are. And the only way to do that is to play them. You can't just like watch a video on Alchemist and suddenly know how to play the hero in every situation. You have to play it like 10, 15, 20, 30 games. And so incentivizing people to explore that kind of stuff is really, really cool. I also want to give a shout out to like StarCraft and Warcraft, those games, because learning those games through their campaign system is really fun because there's a whole storyline and you get to use all the units. You have to build all of them. And sure, it's not remotely the same as playing against another human player.
That didn't feel like a tutorial, though. It was
exactly.
A campaign.
It was a tutorial, but it was actually like several hours of
content.
Dota
2 campaign. That's what we need.
There's just something really cool about that idea where you can actually have a whole separate single player game.
Kill this neutral creep. Go to the store and buy this thing. Kill this boss. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, but you learn the game through playing a whole different game, basically, which is super cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, because the overarching game mechanics don't change.
Right.
Denying, last hitting, buying things from shop, how to micro your hero, move them around the map, fog, all of these things can be taught. And I understand that it's difficult to maintain a tutorial in a game where, the heroes change a lot, but that's only true if the tutorial is the actual game itself. In Warcraft 3, it wasn't really like that. The last thing that I want to talk about is Dota being extremely top heavy in terms of prize pool and support. So the 2 problems that I see, the two main kind of strings of problems that come from this is that the obvious one from Dota being top heavy is there are very few tier 2 players. I believe on the second to last podcast we did, we looked at the number of NA tier 2 players with GodZ on Wikipedia, and the amount of them is staggeringly low, which means there are less streamers, less content creators, less eventual tier 1 players, a less competitive tier 2 scene, which means it's harder to have these interesting leagues or online events. Because I know a lot of people say, well, who cares about tier 2? It's not that interesting. It's not that interesting because it's not that competitive, because there's not that much support there. And with that being said, for the people who aren't a tier 2 fan, I totally understand that. People are like, oh, why would I support tier 2 when it's not that interesting? It's also a problem for tier 1. Tier 1 players, they can't stream, they can't make content because the potential for loss is so huge. They get so much money from competing in TI that content, streaming, they're not going to do that. And that is a huge part of making people interested and keeping them interested in the game. I legitimately believe that people like Bulldog and Gorg C, if they weren't around in Dota, we would look a lot worse as a community.
For sure. It's sort of like a cyclical thing where there's just more access to league stuff. There's more league content to consume. Therefore, there's more people that get into league and, that kind of stuff. So,
there's good literature out there for how to fix the tier 2 scene. I think generally it involves taking the TI money and putting it into like leagues, kind of similar to LCS. But once again, we could go on forever with that. I think our suggestions have been, something. And I just want to leave it open to discussion now for what you guys think in the comments.
I have one more point, if that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I also wanted to just talk about the discrepancy in roles, because I think that is one of the biggest complaints as well right now, and partially to blame for some of the queue time issues. I, as a support player, I have no issue with queue times because I get a game within the first minute to minute 30 seconds of queuing every single time at literally any time during the day. I can queue in the morning, I can queue at night, I can queue in the middle of the day, and I will always find a game within the first minute to 2 minutes. So I know that's not everybody's experience because most people are core players. And so what do you think the real issue is there? Why? Is it just perception that support's boring? Is it the fact that it's just not as glamorous a role and people want the glamour? How do you fix that?
I wish that there was some sort of settings that you could set for queuing where it's like, okay, I would like to play this role, but I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of thing like that.
Well, they kind of do have that, though, because I can queue for hard support and regular support, and I will always get hard support.
I guess more just deeper settings when it comes to matchmaking and your preference, because I do think that there are a lot of players that are versatile, and I think that now that matchmaking is like this, going back to how solo queue was, where you just got any role, I don't think it was as bad as it seemed compared to this, because the discrepancy is just wild. Nobody wants to play hard support, but it's like, if I'm in a game, I might queue, and okay, if I can't get a game for 20 minutes, give me support and I'll play something fun. Don't report me. I don't want to get reported. I don't know. Matchmaking's a difficult one, man. It's a very difficult one. I think gameplay patches need to fix things as well. If hard support's just a boring as fuck role, there's nothing we can do about that other than fix it, right? What else is there?
Just make the game all about fighting, I guess. Make it so just everybody's rewarded for fighting, so it's not just you have to ward and do. I don't know. I really don't know how to fix that, because I have fun playing 5, but I know I'm in such a minority that I don't know if it's just my own perception of the role, or the fact that I like doing the stuff that playing support requires, or maybe it's just the time investment that's required to be good at any role in Dota, and people would rather do that for something that seems a little bit more glamorous, like carry or mid. I don't know.
Maybe. Once again, I'd like to open the discussion up to the community, just because I feel like this is a very, very complicated set of issues that we're talking about, and there's no way that you and I can perfectly elaborate and figure out how the hell to solve all these problems. But I think that if we come together as a community, there's some big brains out there. We can come up with some viable solutions for Dota 2. I believe.